Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the January meeting of the Lextran Board of Directors. My name is Fred Combs. I'm the General Manager, and I'm happy to pass the meeting over to our Board Chair, Mr. Harding-Dow.
Thank you, Fred. We'll call meeting to order, and we will call the roll. Ms. Rogers is as yet absent. Mr. Schoninger.
Here.
Ms. Borges-Gonzalez is absent. Judge Thurston is absent. Dr. Acapo.
Here.
Mr. Ward. Here. All right, and I'm here. So we do we do not have a quorum. Okay. If Ms. Rogers appears, then we will have a quorum. So we can't approve the minutes. Well, sorry. It's the rain. Is there any public comment on agenda items? All right, seeing none, we will move past the approval of the minutes lacking a quorum. I will have a short chair's report, which is mainly to say that the reason I didn't call Christian Motley's name is that Mr. Motley, after many, many years of service since 2015, has officially rolled off of this board. And we appreciate his service, as said, since 2015, and with 2 years as chair from 2019 to 2021. Christian is incredibly busy with other community advocacy, and we wish him well in all of those things. The other thing that I would say to back that up is if anyone has any names that they would like for us to consider, whether that comes from staff or other board members, we are welcome to entertain those. Those would be submitted through the mayor's office, who officially appoints the board, but they do take our recommendations seriously. So. We will move on to the monthly performance report this month, performed by Ms. Emily Elliott.
Good morning. I feel like I should have maybe jumped up a little faster in anticipation, but that's okay.
It's okay.
So yes, we were going to go over December's performance report, and we will start this morning with our mission. We serve people in our community with mobility solutions. So we had a very busy December celebrating our 50th anniversary with a party at Gray Line Station. We hosted the block party and did tours of the facility here. We hosted an event at Claire Story, which is also at Gray Line Station. And I think all of you are familiar, but that being our previous property felt very sort of full circle for being able to host there. And then we also had an employee cookout, and the bottom photo there is our history exhibit that our staff did a wonderful job putting together, just some information, highlights, pictures, a lot of really cool stuff over the last 50 years. On December 7th, Mayor Gorton issued a proclamation for Lextran Day, and so we have an official mayoral proclamation from her. We did do a customer appreciation with free rides to Southern Lights, and some folks shared some photos with us on social media. We had, I believe, 11 vehicles that went to Southern Lights that night, and quite a number of folks on all of those, so it was a really great event for us. As of December, 10 of 13 stops have been updated with improvements for Phase 3 of ramp. We did end up closing the calendar year with just over 13.6 million trips, which is 20% more than in the calendar year for 2022. And we received one commendation for the month for our customer service representative, Angela Simpson. So looking at ridership, we had just over 250,000 trips in December, which is about a 5% increase. We were still over the ridership from the previous year, but just under the ridership for the 5-year average. I'm just going to move my papers a little bit. Sorry, guys. Several bits of information. So the fixed route ridership was 13% higher for the fiscal year to date for 24 than 23. Looking at paratransit ridership, just over 13,000 trips, and that was an increase from December of 2022 by 22%. At that point last year, we were still seeing a bit of a decrease with the transition and working through some of those issues. We had still seen some folks that were indicating it will reflect if you see the customer comments as well. We were still getting pretty high feedback at that point. So it is, but it's still a pretty significant increase from that time last year, and still 9% higher ridership for the year to date as well. So looking at more than one data point there. Here's some more information on the system productivity. We had decently higher weekend ridership, both on fixed route and paratransit in December compared to December of last year. And then there was an increase for holiday ridership as well. If you all recall, last year in December, we had those subarctic temperatures and some pretty nasty weather. So there could have been a light impact in that ridership, but based on the information, there was still a decent increase across the board. And we did continue to exceed on the trips per mile and the trips per hour for both fixed route and paratransit. So for safety, we had 3 preventable accidents on fixed route and 1 on paratransit. Though there were fewer workers' compensation claims this month, so the injury frequency rate and those claims did decrease. For maintenance, we had 13,691 miles between road calls for the month, and maintenance, once again, 60 out of 60, 100% on their preventative maintenance inspections for the month. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I have entirely too many papers, so if you ask me a question, give me a moment to find the information.
I know I have this in my notes from last month, but our year-to-date for paratransit used to be closer to the 130 or per month. What our paratransit per month used to be.
Paratransit what per month?
Ridership.
Oh yes, sorry, total ridership per month.
Okay, so the paratransit ridership per month used to be closer to 130.
Oh, sorry, that's the total per month. I know we're better than we were last year, but to your point, last year was not the best year to compare it to, so I'm
Correct.
comparing our historical average.
Okay.
And that used to be around, and it's okay, we can,
It used to be around 20,000.
20,000
Yes,
per month.
yeah.
That was
Okay.
prior
Pre-
to COVID.
Pandemic, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do have my notes on my computer, so.
Yes.
And then I know we've in the past sometimes looked at discourtesies, and they look very manageable
Mhm.
when you're looking at discourtesies.
Yes.
Very consistent. But then if we look at the time to abandon, and maybe this is the average,
Mm-hmm.
it looks like it's about 20 seconds for people to drop for fixed route, and then about 3 minutes for people to drop for paratransit. What's the difference there?
When we switched our phone system over the summer, the reporting changed a little bit. So the way that it is being reported has changed significantly. On fixed route, we do find, and I unfortunately can't speak for paratransit on this, we have a significant number of hangups. And a lot of times what happens is that someone will call and they will be calling to say, "Where is my bus?" And as they're sort of working their way through the message and the queue, their bus approaches and they hang up. So part of that is reporting, and part of that is there's a large volume of sort of like hang-ups because your question is answered in real time before you get to speak to someone. We do see a pretty short call length compared to paratransit because of the type of information you're exchanging. So in paratransit, they're definitely asking more questions, getting more information, scheduling that trip. And then on fixed route, many times our calls are, when is the bus coming to bus stop 2058? The representative looks it up and then they hang up. So our calls are significantly shorter.
Understood, because of the different nature of the type of call.
Yeah.
And then you guys may have already addressed this, I know. We have all these amazing community events that you used to go to and lead, and what does that look like going forward, or maybe you guys are still figuring it out?
Yeah, so we have been doing a lot over the last several years, and it's been a lot. So there's a couple of things. Julie Moon, who started last March with us, has taken over a large number of the events, so she will continue doing the events. But we also went through as a team over the last year and sort of made priorities for what is most important and what we've seen good attendance in. The other thing that we've done is implemented, and we started this in January, an evaluation criteria. So how do we demonstrate that the events that we're going to are valuable? Is it volume of people? Is it community connections? How do we do that? So we're trying to do a better job of not just saying yes to everything, because it's really important to show up for our community, but it's important to show up in a valuable way and also respect staff time and the other activities that we're doing. So it may change and shift a little bit, but we're trying to focus on more things that are important for the organization. Working transportation focus, going to a community event is amazing, but it's not necessarily the best use of time, especially 6 or 7 hour events. So those may change a little bit, but we're still trying to say yes to as many folks as possible and getting a better way to understand how our time is working and how that value translates.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So it sounds like you're prioritizing community events based on what's going to have the largest impact for the organization.
Yes. Yeah, community events have changed a lot. After COVID, we saw a huge increase and tons of participation, and then there's been sort of a steep drop in that over the last year with just changes in priorities and the things that people are focused on, and we're actually allowed to spend time together again on a regular basis. So the value of those events definitely isn't participant volume, but 6 participants for a 4-hour event is a really, really difficult thing to justify when you have other activities that you should be doing.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
How about comments on paratransit on-time performance?
Comments on paratransit on-time performance?
So this past month was a improvement over what we've been seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And just curious, and I don't know, maybe Byron's going to answer it, but is it trending better? Or did we have a blip of a really good month?
So it is trending better, and last month we talked a little bit about how we've been working with EcoLane, the software, the tracking software and scheduling software to make tweaks and improvements. So that is still a refinement process. I think at the moment we feel like we're moving in the right direction, but to feel 100% confident and all of that, we need some more data and some more information to really seal the deal and say this is absolutely 100%. We know everything is exactly the way it should be and the way that we want it as far as the data is concerned. It is trending better though, and we had...
I would add, that's the quantitative answer, but talk about the qualitative answer that we heard from our...
That's where I was headed next. So last week, despite the weather, we had great attendance for our paratransit listening sessions. And we heard overall that there have been difficulties with the service, but there has been an improvement. So there were comments that there's been an overall improvement, that people are happy with the service, and that the wait times, the on-time performance is getting better. So the end user is seeing and feeling it, as well as the numbers.
And what's the target for good on-time performance for both fixed route and for paratransit?
Our target's 90% for both. The paratransit incentive kicks in at 96%, I believe it is. So anywhere in the range between 95 to 90 is kind of what we're after, on both systems.
Okay.
And our on-time performance on fixed route also increased from last month as well. Several months.
Other questions?
I had
No.
one follow-up question. Have all the listening sessions been completed?
So we did have to cancel one on Friday at Briarwood Apartments, and it has been rescheduled in sort of a reformulated way. We are going to work with Briarwood because they had indicated significant engagement, so we're going to schedule to go out there next week. We have not scheduled that with the public because where it was canceled, there wasn't enough time to alert people and give them reasonable reasonable time to accommodate themselves and schedules and all of that. So we made that commitment to them, and they were very excited, and they were disappointed to cancel. So we wanted to make sure that we went out and we got their feedback as well, and then that will be added to the compilation that we have. We did also receive some things after we had that cancellation. We received several pieces of feedback via email and calls and that sort of thing.
And it sounds like the qualitative feedback was very informative and great to hear. So I really appreciate giving us some of that feedback that the overall experience is improving. So I appreciate that. And then, because you were talking about, were you happy with the number of people you got at the feedback and the diversity of representation at those sessions?
Yes, absolutely. Despite the weather, we had a number of people. I think we ended up, and I'll preface this by saying that public meetings are completely hit or miss. We had a number of people show up both at Christian Towers and at the Senior Center. We had quite a few folks at the Senior Center. And I think some of them came to listen, but we had community representatives, organization representatives, so from anything from vocational rehab, we had paramedicine came, a few council members were available and came to the Senior Center as well, so not just writers, but folks in the community, so we were able to get sort of a diverse amount of feedback, and we are planning on compiling all of that, so and presenting it back to the community. So to say, these are the things that we heard that need improvement. These were significant questions, so questions that came up a lot. And then here's anecdotally what you all said about the service as well, because it's important. And, you know, of course, if someone's like, I disagree, we would love to hear that too.
Thank you.
Anybody? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to financials with Nikki.
Good morning. We are 6 months through our fiscal year, which is hard to believe. It's already half over. This is our balance sheet for the month of December. Our operating cash is at a good point right now. I'll talk more about that in a moment on the financial statement. There are no unusual things going on with our balance sheet, pretty much the same as usual. We had the work in process that I usually mention. That's grant money that we're waiting on for some of the buses that we have. And but I'll be glad to answer any questions on the balance sheet. Okay.
Wait, Nikki, on the work in process, so you're waiting for that money. Have we spent that money already?
We have spent that money, yes, so we will be reimbursed.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, statement of revenue and expenses. Property tax is what I wanted to mention. We got $17 million in November, and we got another $3 million in property taxes in the month of December. So we are way ahead of where we were this time last year. Most of that's due to timing of when people pay their taxes, but we are ahead of budget quite a bit, so we're very, very happy about that. Passenger revenue is up some. We're about 50,000 more than we were this time last year. As Emily mentioned, some of our increase in ridership, so that's always good to see when passenger revenue increases. Our wages and fringe benefits are looking pretty good at this time. We're still trying to hire. We have a hiring and retention presentation later in the meeting, and we're still focusing on that, but right now we do have quite a bit of overtime to fill those vacancies, but we're still under budget, so we're happy with that. Professional services is under budget. Some of that is timing for some of the repairs for the building and the vehicles. You'll see more of that in the spring when we start doing spring cleaning windows, cleaning carpets, things like that. Materials and supplies, we were over budget on parts and maintenance. We've actually are under budget a little bit. So we're always glad to see when we're under budget in parts. Fuel is still under budget at this time. Our monthly average diesel cost for the month of December was $2.52, and July through December average was $2.93. So we're very, very happy with that. The diesel gallon equivalent is $1.60, so it's still running quite a bit lower than diesel. When we look at the insurance is the property and liability insurance and includes the insurance for the buses. That was estimated on when we will receive the buses, and so we received them a little bit earlier than I had anticipated on the insurance, so that's why you see that over. And our paratransit, 6 months through the year, I think our budget is pretty close to where we are. You remember that is RATP Dev, also the paratransit assessments and fuel, so we're 124,000 over within the 6-month period. Our travel and training and meetings, that's a timing. We'll start seeing more trainings happen in the spring. And but everything at this point is really good. We're very happy at where we are with the numbers 6 months through the year. So, but I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I don't know if I ever
Quick
asked you
question.
this. Do we pay full fuel taxes? I mean, same as what I pay in my car?
We do. We pay the fuel taxes, but we get reimbursed about 78% of that.
Okay,
So part of that other revenue at the top is
Yeah.
fuel tax revenue.
all right, thanks.
That's for state only.
For state.
So I'm clear, the second column, that's a year-to-date budget.
Yes, correct.
So then the property taxes, in your estimation, you're fabulous always. So 20 million, is that 70, 80% of what we should be collecting?
We do collect the majority of it in November and December.
That's
We'll
what I
see a
know.
little bit trickle in. I think we'll be pretty close, if not over budget for the entire year. I think we budgeted 22 million, I think. I do expect us to come in a little bit over that.
Well, again, you always do a good job.
Thank you.
Just one other question on paratransit expense. We are very close to what we had budgeted. But then what we had budgeted was already 300,000 over what we had budgeted last year, if I'm reading that right?
That's because the last year did not have a full year of RETP Dev. We had July through September with American Red Cross, and RETP Dev took over on October 1st.
Thank you. And then, the 5 million in federal funds that hasn't come in that we had budgeted, is that a timing issue?
Yes, it's timing. Yes, they've been very, very slow processing things this year.
You have money troubles too.
And then I know the new census numbers came out with the new formula allocations. Did we do well? Did we grow? Do we even know yet?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
That will affect the next year's fiscal or federal fiscal year funding.
Okay.
More questions?
So, thank you.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, and noting that we have a quorum for only a short period, we did have a topic for closed session today. I believe, Jamie, you have the text to read us in, if you would do that at this time.
At this time, I move the Lextran board go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61-810, Section G, for discussion regarding the provisions of an agency contract and paratransit.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Lextran board took no action during closed session and will proceed with the planned agenda items.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. We will move into our action items, starting with Resolution 2024-1.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, John.
I'm here to present the adoption of the updated drug and alcohol policy. We tried to do this last month. Kind of misfired a little bit, had make an adjustment to two sections. Section 3, in addition to the drugs prohibited by the FDA, we wanted, the board suggested adding hallucinogens and synthetic drugs. We made that adjustment. And also, we had to make another adjustment in Section 5 per our FDA auditor, Cahill Swift. And so those edits basically align with what the FDA say are okay. When we did the initial FDA drug and alcohol policy and went through the audit, a lot of the issues that we had were Lextran specific edits that we had made that they seemed weren't compliant with the FDA policy. And so using the builder, that was the biggest hurdle we had. So that's why we went back and forth. So those edits have been made to hopefully in compliance with what the board requested and also what the FDA finds suitable.
Thank you. Any questions about the revised language? Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2024-1?
Since we discussed it last, and I know we had Judge Thurston, I have a motion to approve.
Good deal.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Move on to 2024-2, Agency Safety Plan.
So annually, we have a agency safety plan that has to be approved by our board. What we updated this year for our agency safety action plan was going to be our accountable executive, which is Fred Combs, and the chief safety officer, which is myself. Those are the true edits to the document. This is a document the FTA requires that we fill out, or we have on hand. Once we get it established and approved by our board, we keep it here. But it does have a few things that inside this that we need to make sure that we're doing inside the policy, namely being some of the reporting that I'm responsible for. And I'm not prepared to present any numbers this week. I'm still data mining. But per section 6.1.4, it says that we have to provide accident injury data, which we already do, collision data, injury data affecting the public, program auditing findings and trends, and corrective action plans. That's something I'm working on currently. We're finishing up our year-end OSHA reporting and things like that. Once that gets tamped down, I'll have better data. Having Trackit as a tool to use is good, but the data mining is going to take a little bit of heavy lifting. I think we can do it. We just have to get prepared and come back to that.
Thank you. I look forward to the future data that you'll be reporting on. Motion to approve Resolution 2024-02.
Is there a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Move on to Resolution 2024-0 through designation of signatory.
Okay, this is a resolution to add another check signer. We currently have Fred, myself, and Randolph, and we like to have 4 at all times. This would bring us back up to 4 to add Chris Withrow, Director of Maintenance, as a check signer. We've had 3 for a while since Jill left. Fred was already a check signer, so with him becoming general manager, we needed to replace that. So this resolution approves that Chris will become a check signer immediately after the board meeting.
What's your threshold on checks? I mean, 1 signature, 2 signatures?
2 signatures,
For everything?
yes.
Any questions? I hear a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And finally, Resolution 2024-4, Kentucky Deferred Comp Joinder Agreement.
We have had this one on the proposed agenda items forever, it feels like. We had to wait until a new general manager was named. This is the Kentucky Deferred Comp is our 401k plan. we allow any employee to participate in the 401K. They were auditing their records and they realized that they had not done a joinder agreement, which is basically the agreement that says who is responsible at Lextran for administering this program. So I've unofficially been administering this program for about 15 years, but they found that their records went back to 1988. So they wanted an official record for it that names Fred Combs and myself for being responsible for the 401K program and administering it with the rules and regulations for Lextran.
And the records you're talking about are their records?
Their records, not our records. Yes, they were auditing their records, yes.
Okay. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
George, is there a second?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We didn't approve the minutes at the top of the meeting, so we didn't have a quorum. Let's go ahead and do that. Has everyone had a chance to read the December 2023 minutes, and are there any edits? If there are none, I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Is there anything else that we need a quorum for? Because I know George has a timeout.
I think that is all that we need.
Fantastic. Is there a change order report?
There is not a change order report.
Okay. As far as old business, we have a hiring and retention staff report from Maria. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am here to present the Employee and Hiring Retention and Turnover Report for the period of 2018 through 2023. Okay? Here, our mission statement: we serve people and our community with mobility solutions. Okay, in this next slide, these are some of the reports that we look into it. National trends in transit workforce that shows that, not only Lextran is struggling through here. The public transit providers across North America face shortage of operators and mechanics. Okay, some of these recent reports are the APTA Transit Workforce Shortage published in 2022, Transit Workforce Center, Bus Driver Recruitment and Retention in Challenging Times, published in 2022, and the TCRP, Bus Operator Workforce Management Practitioner's Guide, published in 2023. Okay, some of the common findings are aging transit workforce and the strong competition for new workers. Okay, in the APTA report, we can see that 96% of the agencies surveyed reported experiencing a workforce shortage, and 84% reported the shortage is affecting their ability to provide services. Thank goodness Lextran is not there yet, and we are working very hard to avoid this scenario for Lextran. We're trying to recruit new talent every day. All right, our recruiting strategies. Lextran offers a CDL training, and we have had 31 classes within these 6. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
I got you.
Thank you, thank you. I have all my slides here and I forgot about moving those ones. I'm sorry. We have had 31 classes in the past 6 years, okay? We implemented a sign-on bonus back in the fall of 2021 for some of these openings. We offer a very good benefit package. That includes health, dental, vision, life, disability insurance. We offer pension plan that we don't hear that very often anymore, nowadays, and a very competitive salary plus overtime opportunities, okay? Our outreach strategies are employee referral bonuses, online advertising, collaboration with technical colleges, hiring events, billboards, and radio ads. Some of the regulations impacting the hiring and retention right now are the drug and alcohol testing and policy, driving history records, background checks, CDL testing requirements, and the seniority rules and scheduling and shifts. Regarding the seniority rule, that means that when the new operators or new mechanics come into our into our workforce, they are going to be at the bottom of the board because these positions are union positions, which means that they are going to have to wait a period of time for them to choose the shifts or the schedules that they would like to have. So,
Maria, can I ask a question about you mentioned pension plan. Is there a different retirement structure for union and non-union employees?
No.
Everybody's in the same thing. And is it the 401k that we just talked about? It's not a fixed benefit pension?
All employees are in the pension plan, it's required. And then all employees may participate in the 401k, but the admin staff get a 50% match on the 401k.
Okay, but the pension plan per se is a fixed benefit pension?
Yes.
Okay.
yes. All right, the next slide. Thank you, Nikki. Okay, this is the hiring report. In this report, you can see the total hires for this period were 292 new employees. You can see in each column at the bottom, you're going to see the total hires per year. Out of those 292 new hires, we still have active 93 employees, plus 6 employees that are on leave, and 192 employees were terminated. Okay.
So real quick, I think I caught what you were saying. Of the 292 employees,
Yes,
93 are still here.
correct.
Okay,
But take note of the last, really 3 years.
Yeah.
How the trend in total hires has increased. So if you go back to 2018, we hired 41 people. 2023, we hired 68.
68.
So that's a 50% increase since 2018.
And how many total employees do you have?
We have 193 currently. We're budgeted for about 210.
you have 193 currently, don't you say?
So that means that there's like 100 of them that have been here since before 2018.
Which means 50% of your workforce has only been here 5 years, which is pretty typical in lots of
It's
industries. but-
typical now, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
We've got some.
I looked at it the other way, 50% been here for more than that.
good shot, yeah.
Yeah, I like the way you see it, yes. All right, this is the turnover by department report. And as you can see, the most important numbers here that I would like you to notice is the percentage on the involuntary terminations. Most of them, 45%, have been through while they are still in training. 45%. And then you can see the reasons of those terminations. The exceeded leave of absence, that means that for those 6 employees that were terminated involuntary were because they were out on leave more than 24 months. So that is the reason of that. And then 56 for training, and then 55 of them were terminated due to violations. That means that they violated the performance code of conduct, okay? And then 7 of them were terminated due to drug and alcohol, the drug and alcohol policy.
I have another, because this is lots of really great data, so it just takes me 2 minutes
Yes.
to process it all. And so it seems like the highest turnover is in operations, which is that typical for the industry? I would assume, admin has lower turnovers, other industries have higher turnover.
So the operations is the biggest department.
Yeah,
So
okay,
there's more
good.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah, about out of 200 employees, about 130 of them are operator positions.
okay. So, yeah, the denominator is larger, but still half
Yep.
has high turnover. And I would assume that's typical across not just transit, but lots of industries where admin has lower turnover. And
We lose a lot in the operator
Training.
turnover. We lose a lot, lose a lot in the operator maintenance training classes because they have to get their CDLs. So sometimes they might fail a CDL test, might not be able to get it. We usually give them 3 chances to get their CDLs. They might also have attendance issues. We've had a lot in the last 2 years of people just not showing up. They don't come back. They come to class the first day, they decide it's not for them, and they leave. And then we have some that have had attendance issues in training. And obviously, if you have attendance issues in training, it's going to be a problem later on. So we can weed some people out with attendance issues that way, but that's the majority of those, and some people just decide it's not for them.
And that would be your 63 total in training, like some reason that they left was training related?
Yes.
Yes,
And does that count those who started the class but didn't finish the
Yes.
class?
yes.
But the majority is they resigned.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Do we do exit interviews?
We do try to do that. It is much easier to do exit interview with administrative staff than it is with the union staff.
It's not required.
It's not.
No, it's not.
I was just wondering if the wage scale has something to do with the high operator turnover.
We usually don't hear any, did you say wage?
Wage scale.
We usually don't hear the problem with operators leaving is usually not wages, it's usually the schedule.
Okay.
Especially, she has a slide later on that'll show you within that first year. It's usually not wages.
Which is the next one?
Yeah, I need to leave, but I wanted to ask the question, how long is it before they've moved up the list to where they can kind of pick their route and time?
It all depends.
Yeah, it all depends, usually when they get past 2 to 3 years, about 3 years is usually about the good spot when they start coming up. Jason might be able to answer that better.
Right.
In there.
Generally, well, now, pre-COVID, it was 2 or 3 years. Now it's within a year.
Okay.
If you can make it past the first year, you're set, you can get you a schedule. It may not be the perfect schedule that you want, but at least you'll have a schedule.
Right.
And that's what we've seen consistently moving for the last couple of years.
Sorry.
When you say at least you'll have a schedule, do you have just generally less control over when you're driving that first year?
The first year is basically a swing shift.
Okay,
You find out today at 1 o'clock what your shift is going to be for tomorrow.
gotcha.
Now, you still get your 2 days off in a row, but that's what's so demanding about it. You could have a morning shift on Monday, and Tuesday you could have an evening shift.
Mhm.
And that's all contractual, unfortunately. I wish we could have something a little bit more
Flexible.
convenient. But, and across the industry with other transit agencies, it's the same.
So can we think about creative ways of doing it so it helps the turnover as well?
As long as it-
I like to be disruptive. Can you find a disruptive way of doing it so we can avoid it?
If we can do that while following the contract,
Mhm.
yes. But we're kind of bound by what it says in the CDA, so, and it's outlined in the CDA how the runs are supposed to be given out. But right now, generally with more help, we're budgeted for 130 operators. We have 107 right now. Some people are out on leave, so we normally have what we call an extra board, which is extra people that we can put on a board and say, okay, you're gonna have this piece, this piece, this piece. Unfortunately, we don't have that.
Understand.
So we're kind of, and we have to dish the work out accordingly.
I understand, but can we plan on having that as part of the agenda for the next negotiation?
Yes. It is.
All right.
Please continue.
Let's continue then. So in this chart, you are going to be able to see years of service, and that's what you were talking about, Jamie. Most of them are terminated within the 58% of them will be terminated within the 1 year mark.
So what Jason was saying, if you make it that first year.
Right.
You're likely to stay for a long time.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. All right. And then, lastly, to continue focus on employee engagement, we encourage employees' culture through programs and events like Million Miler Club, annual rodeo, attendance awards, safety awards, customer recommendations, health and wellness events. Last year we had the month of March. We had the Employee Appreciation Month. The entire month we have several food trucks here that everybody participated in, and then we provided some snacks for all our employees, and then we had the 2 cookouts, one in the summer and then one at the end of the year, and that was pretty successful. and then to develop and expand opportunities for employee growth, like training opportunities and professional development. So I will be happy to answer any more questions that you may have.
Very well done.
All right?
How do we track our employees' relationship with their direct managers?
I'm not certain what you're asking.
It stems from the sort of, it's become a cliche at this point that often people don't quit jobs, people quit managers.
Oh, I see.
And so the relationship that an employee has with their manager is a strong determining factor as to whether they will stay in that job. So how do we know that, and I will, you have to forgive me, I'm not entirely clear on how that org chart necessarily stacks for most of our employees, but helping us to understand what that is and how do we get feedback on those managers to know that because they're a big part of this equation.
We have, you would have the operator and maintenance level. You have supervisors for both of those departments. Then there's a manager and then the director. Both directors, Chris and Jason, are both very involved with it, as well as the supervisors. Usually when someone has a problem with something that a supervisor does, we will get a grievance. So
Okay.
that's usually the way that they solve that. Or sometimes directly, if there's something that they have a question about, they will come directly to Jason or Chris. They have extremely open door policy, and I think that people feel comfortable coming to both of them directly to talk to them. But most of the time, they are dealing out on the street day to day with the actual supervisors. So like I said, if we have something or they get written up and there's some issue, then we will see a grievance about it.
But we don't have a formal or employee engagement survey.
We've tried to do that a few times in the past. I don't think it was very successful. The response rates were not very good. That was discontinued before COVID. The last one we did.
We
It's
haven't had
not
a whole-
always effective because the lazy people tend to respond more and they're vocal. The hardworking employees just tend to be quiet.
We have
Too
had
busy
some
working.
feedback recently. John did refresher training with operators, and we did have a lot of feedback for those, and we've been discussing that in our management team meetings. So we usually see it, somehow. People aren't shy about expressing their opinions if they have a problem with a supervisor or manager.
So one of the biggest things that we did with the communication, with the focus of employee engagement was checking off the box of communication and keeping the doors open. So since Fred has been in this role, we've had several conversations with management and employee and just staff alone, which opens up that line of communication, whether they want to be vocal with the person in the room or with the person outside of the room. And I think that's where we got into the new training opportunities and professional growth. So I would say, without going into too much detail of personal conversation, some individuals expressed that they would be better suited in a different role. So we developed plans with the individual to progress in that direction, whether it's management, supervision, or just moving into an operator role. We've opened the idea of what's next here at Lextran. So,
And those conversations have mostly been with union employees?
yes. Well, no,
Everybody-
that's
everybody
been across the board.
Okay.
So what
It's
we did,
good to hear that there's the flexibility within the CBA to create those individualized paths. That's often one of the deficits of a union structure, is that everybody has to be treated the same. So I'm glad to hear we have that flexibility for people to grow if they want to.
All right. No more questions for me?
Can that be shared with us?
Yes.
It'd be
Yes,
great.
of course.
Slide.
We will check that. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, any new business? Okay. Let's run through our proposed agenda items.
All right, first on the list, employee development and customer service training RFP. We expect that to be awarded next month. Equal Employment Opportunity Program Plan, that is due in March, so we plan that to be a March resolution. There are some things in that program plan that needed to occur with the new general manager. We've taken care of the policy statement and worked towards getting all that set up for a March resolution. 2 additional RFPs, towing services, and a contract for bus stop amenities. That might happen next month, it might be in March as well. And then lastly, the adoption of an updated advertising policy. That is something that Addison has helped us with. We want to get that in front of the board likely next month. That's coming ahead of the advertising policy RFP, which will come later on in the year. So we're going to get the policy updated first, and then open the RFP process with the contract award happening sometime later in the year.
Only one question I have.
Sure.
I don't think I was aware that we outsourced customer service training and employee development. What is that? Who does that sort of thing?
You guys want to take the?
Sure.
I mean, I'll help you, but
Yeah.
take off.
So this was something that was already in motion prior to me coming in, so it was kind of came in mid-flight. And the way I read it is we have several layers of training deficits that we have to try to fill, starting at the top level, directors with maybe employee engagement and things like that. It's not just customer service. I hate the title of it. That's how I had it.
Okay.
But it's director training, supervisor training, and it's frontline driver training with customer service in mind.
Okay.
But it's development in all 3 levels. And so we
Okay.
had,
So it's not that we're training customer service representatives, it's that
Yeah.
we are training all of our staff on the art of customer
so
service.
our internal customers and our external customers.
Okay.
And so we had 7 companies who put a proposal in, and we whittled it down to 4 yesterday.
Mhm.
We're gonna do interviews with those 4 providers in the next week, or the next couple of weeks, to try to find who's the best fit for what we're trying to achieve. So
Right.
it goes back to the employee engagement piece.
And the prior contractor was C. Robinson and Associates. They were our provider for 4 or 5 years. Did lots of different trainings with them, everything from customer service, like John said, internal and external customers. We did some, what was the one, do you remember all the things that we did?
We had diversity, diversity and inclusion. We had,
There's sort of different facets of customer service,
Mhm.
so, empathy,
Yeah, I was always thinking.
recognizing your own responses to someone who's upset, de-escalation, and sort of those 2 things separately, not just, but like recognizing your own responses and how to better respond to people.
There was stuff coming out of COVID.
Yes, there was a
There
lot
was
of,
the fear of
there was
coming out
some
of
sort
COVID.
of just like how to check in with your own mental health coming out of COVID and being back in, either back in or how to move through the workforce in that situation. So there were several.
Okay. Glad I asked.
Can I ask for, nothing future next month, but just on the 6-month pipeline, is the canopy update?
Sure can.
I know that's probably on everyone's. And then it seems like once a year you used to also give a presentation on our DBE goals and disadvantaged business
I've
procurement.
had that one in mind when we name a new DBE person.
Okay.
So I would want to introduce them to the board, so we'll tie those things together.
Okay.
At future meeting. But yep, I'll put those on the list. Thank you.
I think we're good. I did want to mention one thing that I did mention at the top. Congratulations to Emily Elliott for her elevation to Director of Planning and Community Development. Thank you for putting it on the card so I didn't have to remember it. Pleased to have you still within the fold and taking on new responsibilities. So thanks everyone. We stand adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.